Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Jodie Mann. I'm also known as the Habit Fixer. And I really love working with women over 50 who want to regain their mojo and age well. And I do that through a very simple but effective tapping technique, nutrition, skincare, and digital products. And today I'm joined by Jodie Newman. She is absolutely full of ideas. In fact, she runs a company called the Business Allotment. And what she does is she helps business owners, small business owners, to harness the power of ideas so they can make their businesses brilliant. Isn't that right, Jodie?
Spot on. You do it so much better than I do, Julie.
I'm just going to hand straight over to you because obviously you're going to be talking about creativity, aren't you?
I am indeed. Yes. Yes. Getting those creative habits in your business and in your life in general.
Can't wait.
Good stuff. Okay. So, yes, Julie, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. Yeah, it is all about harnessing that power of creativity, of getting ideas in the muscle. I'm always talking about warming up your creative muscle because for me, if as a small business owner or just, kind of doing life, if you can be more creative about it, it opens up a world of options. It means your decision making becomes so much richer. And from a business perspective, ideas just help you stand out because you start to do stuff differently from your competitors. And that can be in the tiny details. So this isn't about necessarily creating one transformative idea. What I love doing is getting people into the habit of putting creativity and ideas into every single granule of their business, be it how I welcome a client onto a Zoom meeting, what my Zoom background looks like, what my email sign off says. These tiny things build this big creative picture and really start to engage your clients in a much more enriching and deep way, and they fall in love with you and never leave. I mean, I love a fairy tale. That might not happen every time, but that's what we're striving for, Julie. So I wanted to talk today about getting that creative habit into the muscle. And I've got kind of three things I just wanted to touch upon. First one is what I call a creative warm-up or a creative workout. Warm-up sounds a little bit less strenuous, so we'll go with that one. So I encourage my clients, everyone who comes into the allotment, to have a little armory of warm-ups to pull out of their pocket anytime. So before you sit down to write that LinkedIn post or have that meeting with a client or think about your business strategy, do a creative warm-up because it will change your mindset and your ability to think creatively. So one of my favorites, a polo. I mean, it's a giant one because I don't do anything small in the allotment. So this is a fantastic, so a good excuse to buy yourself some confectionery. Go buy yourself some polos, put one in your mouth. That's the first bit. Second one, get one out and have a look at it, and then jot down 10 different ways you can use a polo. So it could be a halo for a mouse. It could be a life buoy for a worm. It could be a wheel of Noddy's car. Anything you like. It could be a spaghetti measurer for when you're not feeling very hungry. And that exercise, that workout of divergent thinking, so thinking broadly and broader and broader and broader, is a fantastic way to get your creative juices flowing. So you just grab an object and do that with that exercise. Every time you sit down, you will become a more creative thinker. So that's kind of my first one. There's another little warm-up I do quite a lot because it's easy to do with stuff you have to hand, which ironically, I don't have a teaspoon to hand because I've just washed up my coffee mug. A teaspoon. You need to think of 3 ways to make it better and 3 ways to make it worse. Or if you want to start gently, 1 way to make it better, 1 way. So 1 way I would make a teaspoon better is that it would go every time I put it in and I have a little spoon of something delicious. It knows, and it makes that gratitude sound of deliciousness on my behalf. And I could have a little volume knob at the top to really amplify that, so that the person who cooked it for me, because I don't do any cooking, would really know that I'm appreciating what is on my spoon. And I might make it worse by putting a great big metal spike in the middle of the bowl. So all of these warm-ups are about, there's no jeopardy here. You're not trying to market a teaspoon or, flog a polo mint. What you're doing is allowing your imagination to kind of go into overdrive, because it doesn't matter how ridiculous. And I always say, the more ridiculous, the better. If you think of an idea, and it's particularly good if you write that idea down, if it starts to make your toes curl a little bit, or it makes you blush because it's so ridiculous, you are starting to really engage your creative muscles. So the stuff that you can almost not say out loud because it's so ludicrous, that is a sweet spot of creativity, because you are starting to wander towards the extremities of your idea territory. And we all have an ideas territory that we think in. And if we don't do anything to expand those fences out, we can wander up to those fences and we go no further. So these kind of warm-ups and the tools that I'll talk about in a second are a great way of helping you vault those fences and explore new thinking territory and get new ideas. The other thing I wanted to briefly talk about in terms of habit is understanding your creative places, the space that really kind of engenders that creative feeling. And I use it kind of very loosely. It could be somewhere physical. So I did some research with business owners a few years back where I asked them where they get their best business ideas and their worst. Now, it will come to no surprises anywhere to anyone that the worst place was at your desk, because you're surrounded by stuff to do, and your to-do list and your diary, and oh look, here's another email, and look, oh look, what's someone selling on Facebook Marketplace. I mean, the distractions are millionfold, and it's a terrible place to try and come up with ideas, which is a bit of a bummer because that's the place we work. So we need to sort of excuse ourselves from our desks to get ourselves into the habit of a little bit of a creative time in a creative space. So that could be your favorite armchair. I always think windows are essential. You want to be staring outwards because you need an outwards perspective. So, you know, a window with some interesting things going on outside, or interesting leaves and trees, all that kind of stuff, just to really feed your imagination. It could be that you are doing a particular activity. One of the best ways from the survey that people found, one was driving, although this was pre-pandemic, so I think this may be slightly different, but it was driving, it was exercising, stuff like being on public transport. Now, they all have something in common, which is, I mean, it's terrible when you think about driving, that your conscious mind is mildly diverted, which explains why so many of us are terrible drivers. Allowing your subconscious to do all the creative heavy lifting. So you need to really understand where it is that your brain works at its most creative. So it'll be potentially something where you are consciously diverted. You're looking out the window going, my God, that woman's bobble hat is bizarre. So you're doing that kind of, you've got a little bit of conscious diversion going on, but your subconscious is really rocking and rolling. And if you've written your little business challenge on a post-it note and shoved it in your back pocket before you sit down, you are in the best place. So get that habit. Write down a challenge, hide it somewhere, put it under your hat with your marmalade sandwich, and then go do something diversionary that will really engender some creative thinking. And my final one is, once you've done all of those things, the other habit is using tools to generate new ideas, to force new thinking. So, you know, the picture we all think, oh, the creative muse, I should go sit on the top of a hill and, you know, kind of be amongst nature and smoke a gauloise and stare up into the clouds, and the creativity muse will come and strike me. I mean, it probably would, but, you know, smoking is bad for you and it's a bit windy and no one's got time. So how do we get ideas into the habit of our business thinking? We use tools that force us out of business as usual thinking. When you're trying to do stuff differently, you need business as unusual thinking, and you just can't squeeze that out of nothing often. So use tools to help you do that. So I have boxes of stuff called random sparks. So it might have stuff in it like a little duck or a massive duck. Take your choice. You know, you use these random things to say, well, if I'm trying to send, you know, if my business challenge is to create a newsletter for my business, to engage my audience with the wonderful things that I need to talk about, you then say, well, how does a rubber duck help me do that? And you let that, and you have a ponder, you stare deep into its eyes, and, you know, magic things happen. And then you go, well, you know, how would a rubber duck do it? And you go, well, that reminds me of bar time and relaxing. So maybe my newsletter should be about creating a relaxing environment, which is great for learning. So maybe my newsletter needs to come with some amazing music. So you open the newsletter and you click a link, and this amazing sort of Spotify playlist surrounds your ears. And then you might not actually type your newsletter. You might have your wonderful voice narrating a story of your newsletter, and that becomes the way you communicate with your clients, as opposed to going, well, it's business as usual, thinking I'll send it once a month, I'll have a picture of my office dog, I'll write some old crap in there and send it off. One is going to engender an amazing client experience that really resonates with your brand and what you're trying to do for your clients. The other one is just a crappy newsletter that never gets opened. So random sparks is a great way. So pick, gather a box of stuff, rubber ducks, house bricks, rolls of sellotape, it doesn't matter. Allow yourself to be kind of inspired by whatever you've got in front of you. And then finally, the other one I use a lot is a tool called Brand Swap, because we all know brands. You say, well, how would Lego do a solution to my newsletter challenge? You say, well, Lego, they do these amazing instructions that have no language in, which is incredible when you think about it. You can build an Eiffel Tower without using any words. So maybe my newsletter is all diagrams of how to do stuff, how to get habits, but it's all done through illustration. People would open that, and it's about applying that creativity to doing it. They might also give it to you in tiny little bags, and it might be a newsletter that if you step on, it makes you yelp with pain. So not all ideas are good ideas, but it doesn't matter. When you are in an idea generation mode, it's quantity, not quality. It's all the mad stuff where you go, well, why have you said that out loud? You can't step on a newsletter. Oh, yeah, but maybe it is a physical thing. Maybe my newsletter is a quarterly newspaper with a little, thing on the front, like a kids magazine, but it's a brilliant thing that my clients would love. So, it's about taking those mad ideas and going, well, how can I apply them? And so that brand swap thing is a great way, because we've all got brands that we love. It's also good to do with brands that you hate. If you go, I hate queuing up at the post office. Post office is a terrible brand. How would they do a newsletter? Well, they'd make me queue for it. And well, hang on a minute. Maybe I do a VIP newsletter that you have to be in a wait list for. Well, that's quite interesting. And so on and so on. So, you can kind of take brands you love, brands you hate, but brands that and say, how would they do it? And it's a great way just to start some different thinking. I'm done, Julie.
You do, oh my God, I could listen for days. I absolutely love the ridiculous. And what I really get, and I'm sure everyone watching and listening will get, is the fun. I mean, maybe they have to get over themselves because, not everyone wants to be ridiculous, but when we can allow ourselves to let go and just, be curious and what if ... who knows what can happen.
Yeah, fun. You're absolutely spot on, Julie, because and this is why I approach stuff in the way I do with my clients, because once you have someone in the room laughing, they're already closer to a great creative state, because you cannot be a miserable old grum and come up with great ideas, in my experience. So the fun, the laughter, the ridiculousness, and kind of using silly props that people will automatically laugh at because it's ludicrous that I'm supposed to be a serious business person. I'm holding up not only a giant rubber duck, but a ridiculously tiny one as well. And I think that all just creates that state change that allows you to kind of put your frontal cortex aside that goes, don't say it because you might look like an idiot. It doesn't matter. That's where the gold is.
Yeah. And let's not underestimate the benefits of laughter. That release of endorphins, makes us feel wonderful, and laughing is contagious. And there are lots of people that I found with really ridiculous laughs, actually, that you can't help but laugh at, I'm sure you come across that. And I know, Jodie, that you run a club, don't you? So just very briefly, tell us a little bit about the club. What is it, and why would people want
Sure. Yeah. So the Business Shed is the online monthly growth club that sits at the bottom of the allotment. And it is 90 minutes every month for small business owners, and we run it in small groups, so there's plenty of time for exchanging ideas and kind of asking and answering. And it's not me with all the answers. Everyone brings experience and ideas into the shed, but we work on something in a creative way. So it might be, right, okay, let's all think about how we either launch or improve a newsletter, and we used some creative approaches to make sure we're doing it in a way that really, really kind of promotes our brand and resonates with our audience. And then time in the club every month to plan those growth actions using my strategic tools, which are very creative and help you think in a different way.
Wow, what fun. I could just picture it now. So if any of you watching, listening, have really enjoyed today's habits, then please check out Jodie's links below. Mine will be there as well. And if you've enjoyed it, why not subscribe? If you've really enjoyed it, why not share this video? So thank you, Jodie, ever so much. And thank you everyone else for watching.